Hello and welcome to the Comma Basketball Podcast. Today is February 9th, 2020, 3 days after the NBA trade deadline. I'm your host, Kevin. Joining me, we have Anthony,
What's up?
Ming,
Yeah, May, what's up?
and Andrew.
Hey, what's good, everyone?
All right, so since the trade deadline was, pretty recent, I have a lot to talk about. We can talk about all these big trades that happened. So first of all, this huge Rockets deal, one of the biggest trades ever made with, was it like 12 players? Pretty
12
insane.
players.
4 teams.
Yeah, 4 teams involved, 12 players. So the rundown of the trade, the Rockets received Robert Covington, Jordan Bell. The Hawks got Clint Capella and Nene, who they waived. The Timberwolves got Malik Beasley, Juancho Hernan Gomez, Evan Turner, Jaron Vanderbilt, and a 2020 first round pick. The Nuggets got Keita Bates Diop, Gerald Green, Shabazz Napier, Noah Vonleh, and the Rockets' 2020 first round pick. So there's a lot to unload here, but I think the main pieces involved here are Clint Capella and Robert Covington. So what do you guys think about this move overall?
I think from watching the Rockets play the Lakers like a day after this trade, I didn't realize how valuable Robert Covington was.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I like thought of him just like as like Jay Crowder, like just like a veteran dude who like
Really?
might help. But
That's
probably
interesting.
unhelpful.
Yeah, he's definitely. I think he's definitely better than Jay Crowder, but
But
He's
yeah,
much,
he
much
fulfills-
better than Jay
yeah.
Crowder.
he fills the same role, I guess.
But
It's
when we
interesting.
watched him like play against the Lakers, he was like actually so valuable. Like
It's interesting that you thought that because I feel like that's a pretty big underrating of him as a player. Whereas I feel like because of all the trade talk going on and all this stuff, like it seemed like he was being really overrated for a little bit. Like people were thinking he was gonna like he's definitely a good player, a very good 3-and-D guy. But like, the Timberwolves were asking for like 2 first rounders for him. They were only gonna bite on like really, really good offers. And teams often do that anyway with their players. They're trying to get as much as they can, but I definitely think he's better than Jay Crowder. He's definitely a better shooter and better defender.
He's a better everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's some disrespect to Covington to better than Jay Crowder. But yeah, I mean, I think that was it. It was an interesting game, and it's an interesting strategy moving forward. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be, especially as we run into the playoffs and coaches have more time to prepare during a 7-game series. But I guess it worked for the first game, and then they got destroyed by the Suns, I think, the day after. But
Yeah, no Westbrook.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
that's
was
the
it was
biggest
perfect
question.
timing. Perfect timing for us to see them play the Lakers right after the trade.
it's
yeah,
actually really hype. Like the system like really is hinged on how well Covington and Tucker can like play their defensive positions. Because
Yeah, that's
basically
true.
you're putting so much pressure on them, much like how Draymond Green has to like anchor the Warriors, even though he's like 6'6" or something.
Yeah,
Like it's gonna be really hard on them, and they have to perform like as well as they did that night. Yeah.
yeah. And can their offense get like that much better? They already have like a top-ranked offense, and yeah, they lose Capella and get more spacing and shooting, but like, can an already like elite offense make that much improvement just from like getting rid of your big like that?
Yeah. It's interesting because their best lineup per 100 possessions is, well, before the trade was it was Harden, House, McLemore, Westbrook, and Tucker. It's 33 points better per 100 possessions than the same lineup, but with Capella in instead of McLemore. So I think
Yeah.
inserting Covington in instead of McLemore is just like it's better all around.
yeah, and I mean, I think that was kind of. I think people question the move, especially like, because you have people like Jokic and Gobert and just, Anthony Davis, obviously, just people that can just tear up your interior if you don't have a good center. But I think they made the right move. I think Kevin just pointed out that stat, but their offense is now much more spaced out, and especially it works really well if you have someone like Westbrook who's utter shit at shooting threes, but when he's going downhill, like no one can stop him. And I think that's what their plan is. The problem when they had Capella is that Westbrook can't go downhill as often because Capella can't do anything except catch lobs and go for putbacks. So when you take him out and you surround him with a pretty decent shooter like Covington, then and you saw it in the Lakers game. Westbrook just did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted.
Yeah.
Also, the Rockets, like Capella was injured earlier this year, and they were 10-1 without Capella. And then also, like statistically, Capella was like barely improving the Rockets' defensive rating. So there is definitely an argument to say that the Rockets are better without Capella. It's just a question of like, can they do it in the playoffs? Can they do it when like teams have a chance to like strategize against them in a 7-game series? So I think
Yeah,
I don't even think that's a problem. I think they can get better, and I think they will get better. I think the lingering problem. I mean, like you saw it, like the past couple of years, like they competed against the Warriors, with pretty much the same lineup or something similar. And I think Covington was better than any fifth guy that they had out there, but generally it was like CP3, Tucker, Harden as like the core three, and then just two other players. But I think the biggest problem that they're gonna run into is just health. And I think Tucker right now is actually he has like a right shoulder injury. It's kind of lingering, but they don't have depth outside of that, and it's gonna be a problem when you run into the playoffs.
They're so screwed without him. It's interesting though because I really don't feel like the Lakers capitalized that much on the Rockets' lack of size. They really didn't just like feed Anthony Davis and let him do whatever he wanted, and they really didn't out rebound the Rockets as badly as I thought they would.
Yeah.
I thought that would be the biggest problem is they would give up so many offensive boards.
I think I did read a stat that Anthony Davis got like double the number of post-ups that he usually gets, which makes sense. But I also think like it isn't usually within like the Lakers strategy to like always feed it down low or like always attack the paint. So I think like that's one thing that this change does. It like forces teams to kind of try a strategy that maybe they're not used to doing as much. And I think the first game against the Rockets, like they had a lot of turnovers. They're pretty sloppy. So I think in the beginning, like teams will have trouble adjusting to it. But I think as time goes on, like, I mean, this is like kind of like a known formula in terms of having like a super small lineup. So we'll kind of see like how teams strategize for this.
Yeah, it's interesting. You brought up that like teams are gonna have to adjust, and it's sort of the onus is on those other teams to try to take advantage of it because the Rockets are just playing their game. They're playing the same game, except even now like they're able to play more comfortably because they don't have to worry about the paint being clogged up.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's actually now that you brought that up, actually, I think it is definitely. It's likely that it'll take teams a little bit more time to adjust. I thought it would be harder for the Rockets to adjust at first, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely after watching the Lakers game, they were not capitalizing at like very much at all, especially down the stretch when they really needed it. I felt like their offense was pretty uninspired and lazy.
And like a big question is like, are teams going to continue to like double Harden like the Lakers did? Because that's like one thing. Like when I was watching the game, it would literally be like the Lakers double Harden passes to the wing, and then one more pass to the corner, and it's an open three every time because they have 4 people or they have 5 people outside of the 3-point line. So
yeah, there's so many wide open threes, and a lot of it was just because they were trying to trap Harden.
Yeah,
and that's just not there's too much spacing for that to ever happen. Like it's just going to be a easy 4v3. They're going to swing the ball, find the open man. So yeah, the Lakers are definitely going to have to adjust defensively. I don't think doubling Harden on catch like every time is the play, especially when he's not playing that amazingly.
Yeah, I think you have to give him different looks.
Yeah,
I think like just doubling him every time, regardless, is like it makes it too obvious for the offense what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we should also focus on the other parts of this trade too. I think we're talking all this about Capella, but I think he fits really well with the Hawks. Especially with Trae Young down there. I think.
Do you think Collins and Capella might clash a little bit, or how do you think that dynamic's going to work out?
Well, honestly, I haven't watched too much of John Collins, so I can't really say comfortably, but I I think they'll work around it. I think like they get for the time. I think for if anything for the time being, it's better than what they had before, which was what it was Alex Lynn and I don't even
Yeah,
know
for
who the
sure.
other backup center was,
Yeah.
but I think Pella is way better than Alex Lynn is. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Like
I think
John Collins can definitely like shoot it a little bit, so he's not
Mhm.
like he has a jump shot. He actually shoots some threes, so like it's not gonna be a super clog or Trey Young. That being said, I don't know if like that's what I would like for the Hawks.
yeah, I feel like they should prioritize getting Collins looks over Capella. I really think that Capella as a player, he's a good player and he's really good at finishing, catching lobs, all that. But that's sort of a role that a lot of players can fulfill. Like a lot of
Yeah.
more skilled, more versatile players like Collins can already fulfill. So I don't know if I really like that he's sort of taking more opportunities away from Collins, but I do like overall he's definitely an upgrade. And he's just like a better player, better defender, better rebounder than any other center they had.
Really interesting because like it really seemed like the Hawks were going for this type of player. Like weren't they like chasing after Andre Drummond earlier too?
Mm,
So it seems like
yeah.
they definitely want like this role to be fulfilled somewhere. Um, I don't know the exact reason why, but it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
that they wanted a piece like that.
I'm not sure if they had a real specific reason in mind. I think it's really they just wanted to get Trey some help because he's getting pissed.
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
also I think having a lob threat I think is also really important. I mean, you look at someone like Harden. Harden benefited a lot. He still benefit or like he benefited a lot with Capella there. I think in traditional defenses when the center kind of collapses on you, like, and you have someone like Harden going to the rim, and just having like a good lob threat makes it a lot easier. And then you saw Harden during the playoffs; he would always feast on like, every single defense because defenses couldn't tell if like he'd be shooting a floater or throwing it up to Capella. So I think that was like their reasoning behind a move like this because I could also see Trey being like someone that benefits a lot from having a good lob thread in the future.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
I do think it's overall good for the Hawks, but it's not as much of a positive as I would have thought if you asked me like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also like considering what they gave up. I don't think they. I mean, they gave up what
Yeah,
Evan
they really didn't
Turner.
give up much.
And
Yeah.
I think that might
They gave up their
first
the
rounder.
Nets
Yeah,
first
yeah,
round that they had, which is not really that valuable.
yeah. So I think what you're getting back is a lot better than what they gave up. And I think the T Wolves released or waived Evan Turner too. So it's pretty much just
Yeah,
gave up a
they're
first
not going to
round
play
pick
him.
for Capello.
Turner wasn't even playing for the Hawks, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. I think
Um,
overall it's a pretty good. I think it's a good move for all of these teams. I guess the Nuggets got a first rounder out of it.
that's
yeah,
actually crazy that they did.
I
I
think
mean,
it's interesting to think like what the Hawks imagine their like window to be because right now they suck, but they have like really good pieces. And okay, so I looked up Capella's contract and that was like 4 years.
Yeah,
So
he's on a good deal too. He's on like 15 million a year.
That's
yeah, he's
solid.
on 15 million, but it's like yeah for 4 more years. So I would imagine they definitely want to make the playoffs next year, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
since the East doesn't like definitely looks really packed in, actually pretty difficult to break into like I guess the top three. I don't know
mhm.
what the Hawks could or should like plan to do with these 4 years.
I think it's good though that they're just building assets. They're just adding more pieces, similar to like what a lot of other teams, like the Warriors, are doing. Like they're just trading up. They're trading like a player like Evan Turner who has very little trade value for Clint Capella, who could either work out well or they could just flip him eventually later.
So you're saying like they aren't actually focused on a particular window, just big
Well,
assets.
I mean, I think when you're managing a team, you have to be prepared when the real big opportunities come. Like what like you never know when something like when Kawhi is gonna want out or when some random player is gonna want out and they're gonna demand a trade. like when that happens, you have to be ready with all the assets that you need to get that player, or like at least try to build up as much as you can to try to get like to keep try to moving up, like move up, you know. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not trying to keep Clint. I think they're probably gonna. They have a really like a couple months period to see like, oh, is he a good fit going into next season, and then see like if they want to keep him, if they want to move him. They have a lot of young pieces, a lot of players that could potentially be packaged in a big deal for like a big player. Like I don't know who it would be, but like maybe like a Bradley Beal or someone like that.
That'd be
Because
interesting.
because
Yeah,
you really they're not gonna win anything with this lineup.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
not at all.
Even if like a lot of their players improve, like if DeAndre Hunter improves a lot, or if like Kevin Herter improves, they're gonna have to like make huge jumps for this team to become a contender. So it's more likely that the way that they become contenders is by building more pieces and then building a team around whoever, like around Trey, who is probably going to stay on the team, and then maybe adding some more stars. But yeah,
Do you
I'm
guys?
not really sure if it's like making the playoffs is kind of unsubstantial anyway, especially in the East. If you're like the seventh or eighth seed, doesn't really mean
Yeah.
much.
That's
Yeah.
how I feel. The East is like so top heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's some good points. It's just, collect the assets you can now. And if you really have to come down to it, trade it off later. And we'll talk about it later, but I think that's essentially what the Warriors did with D'Angelo.
Yeah,
If you have the opportunity to get assets, just get assets for the sake of having them.
exactly. All right, yeah. The rest of this trade is kind of not that important.
It's not that impactful.
Malik Beasley was being shopped around a lot.
He popped
And
off yesterday.
he did play really well
Yeah.
in his first game for the Wolves, but I feel like he's a good player, you know. They got a first rounder for him. Pretty standard.
Yeah.
All these other there's just so many random pieces in this trade that it's kind of hard to sift through it, but in the end, like a lot of these players aren't going to be on these rosters for more than like a couple more days.
Yeah.
Like
they're not going to be high impact, but
yeah. So yeah, the rest of that trade is not really that important. So let's move on to kind of a shocker. Andre
Someone
Drummond.
explain why the Cavs did this.
I,
I have no clue.
I have like a kind of somewhat thought through theory, but it's really only speculation. And okay, so the trade first of all is that the Pistons traded Andre Drummond to the Cavaliers, and they got John Henson, Brandon Knight, and a 2023 second round pick, which really is not very much.
Sacks
Andre,
up nuts.
yeah, basically
Actually,
nothing.
2 sacks for
Which
Drummond.
is strange because Drummond was being shopped so heavily for so long. You'd think that they'd be able to find a better deal for him.
exactly.
I think it's one of those trades that people would just forget about.
It's a solid lose trade. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like a cutting your losses trade. That's my theory.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's theory is that the reasons why the Pistons wanted to get rid of Drummond, it's not because he's an awful player. It's just because he's on a huge contract and he has a player option for next year for 27 million. And they probably suspected that he would opt in, and they didn't want to pay him that much. So they probably panicked and just flipped him to the Cavs.
And the
Yeah,
Cavs like barely had to give up anything to get
Yeah, the
it.
Cavs didn't really give up anything. You can say like, "Oh, what are the Cavs doing?" This doesn't make sense because they have so many bigs, and their guards are like not really guards that you think of as like, oh, they really facilitate big men, really enable them. So I think that this is almost it's like a similar thing with what the Hawks did. Now that I think about it, they basically gave up two players who aren't even really in the rotation for someone who has been a starter all year. Like some people even thought he should be an all-star, which I don't think so, but he puts up numbers, and if he doesn't opt in, then they have a chance to re-sign him, and if not, then maybe a sign and trade, so they'll get something. Or he'll opt in and they'll get to keep him, or if they don't want him, they can trade him. So it's kind of like it it is kind of like a lose-lose, but I think the Cavs they didn't really give up much, and they could end up getting more for him, or they might just end up losing him for nothing. So
If
We'll
you're the
see.
Cavs, do you want to keep him, or like is he part of your future?
Mm,
I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's hard to tell unless he opts out. Like because like if you're stuck with him, you're stuck with him. But
Yeah.
you kind of have to see like where he goes within the next year. He's
Mhm.
serious about improving, but I
Yeah.
feel like in today's NBA, it's kind of hard to have someone like Drummond who just isn't too versatile as a player.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, they get a 2-month trial period with him, see how he fits in with Kevin Love and Sexton and Garland. And if they
I don't
don't like what they see, then they probably hope that he opts out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like Drummond. I thought that there was a very high chance Drummond would opt out regardless of if he got traded.
Hmm.
But I guess he wants money, and he knows that teams aren't. There's not going to be many teams clearing cap space for this free agency because there's not very many big free agents. But next free agency is the big one. So there's going to be a lot of teams who clear their cap and they'll strike out on the big free agents, and then they'll have to pay money for someone like Drummond. They'll just
That
have to
makes
fill out
sense.
the roster. So now that I think about it, I think it makes a lot of sense that he'll opt in regardless. So I mean, they get to keep him for however long.
Yeah.
It's more than just a 2-month rental, most likely.
Guys are just in a really weird spot right now. Like I don't think Sexton and Garland are like franchise changing cornerstones by any means. So how do they even get out of the current situation they're in?
I think they just have to
Yeah,
draft though. They have to. It's basically like the Hawks, but the Hawks are like one step ahead.
Yeah.
So they have to draft like a actual franchise player, like hopefully someone like Trae Young for their own team. And
yeah,
yes. It's gonna be
yeah,
tough though. This draft is not that strong.
this draft is kind of it's kind of ass. But
Yeah.
yeah, with that in mind, like there's nowhere that like Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, or Andre Drummond really fits in with like that vision because that's gonna take like literally years to develop.
that's true.
5 years minimum.
Yeah.
The Cavs are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, so they're gonna get a top 5. But it's like who in the top 5 is good enough to turn that franchise around. But
Yeah, and a lot of and they can't really draft any more guards. It doesn't make any sense for them to draft guards. So that kind of also restricts like what kind of players they can even target in the draft.
right,
Wait, if I was the Cavs, I would just get LaMelo Ball and just try to hit home run with it.
Yeah, I think if you're the Cavs right now, you just
Yeah.
draft the best player.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's just like their current pieces don't have that much value.
Yeah.
So they're gonna want to have them play and build up value, but they're also gonna want to develop whoever they draft. So it's gonna be a tough situation.
Or the Cavs, I just get LaMelo Ball just for the viewership, like,
For the jersey sales.
for the jersey sales,
Yeah.
and for the hopeful like national television broadcast.
Mm.
Because there's nothing else you can go for.
I don't. Are people that hyped about LaMelo Ball?
I'm pretty hyped about LaMelo.
Yeah, I think people will definitely watch
definitely-
LaMelo Ball.
He's definitely the most hyped prospect in this draft. Not necessarily the best prospect, but like the most hyped one. But I
Yeah.
think that's only because this draft is so weak. Like I don't think he's that particularly good as a prospect.
I mean, I don't even know if it's because he's good. I think it's just his
Entertaining.
family, his brand.
Oh, yeah, but he's still
Super.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
he's
definitely
good.
good.
But he's not. I don't think he's. I do think he's getting a little bit overrated. I don't think he's gonna be like a franchising. It's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm a fan, but I don't think he's gonna be like
Yeah.
like someone that turns like a franchise around.
I don't think there are any franchise changing players in this draft personally.
Yeah,
Some good players, solid players, maybe all-star level players, but
that's true. All right,
I see LaMelo as like slightly better than Lonzo, but I don't think he'll
yeah,
like,
I don't know.
reach superstar status.
Yeah, cuz Lonzo is pretty solid, but he's not like
Yeah.
if he was going to be really great, I think he would have shown us something by now.
That's true.
But he's definitely
Next
he's still
trade?
good.
Yeah, let's keep.
All right,
let's keep
next one.
going.
This is a spicy one. Got D'Angelo Russell traded to the Timberwolves along with Omari Spellman and Jacob Evans. The Warriors get back Andrew Wiggins, a 2021 Minnesota first round pick that's top 3 protected. Now that's an interesting deal. I did not expect this one to happen. I was kind of surprised to see that throughout the whole season, the Wolves have been interested in D'Angelo Russell, and it's kind of like who could they even trade for him? They didn't really have that many enticing trade pieces other than Towns to offer him, and then suddenly the Warriors are asking for Wiggins, and then the deal is done. So it kind of came out of left field for me, just because I didn't think the Warriors would value Wiggins that highly. But I mean, yeah, I mean it's a good deal for the Wolves. I mean, it's keeping Towns happy. What do you guys think about about Wiggins on the Warriors?
I, I think when I heard this, I was definitely really surprised and really frustrated. Personally, just never saw you know the upside of Wiggins. He's been in the year for, I think this is his 5th year, maybe. But he hasn't really done anything substantial within those 4 or 5 years. I think he was just kind of just a black hole, like on offense.
Yeah, definitely a
On
ball
defense,
stopper.
he's not great either. But I think, like, some time has passed. I let the emotions aside, and I think it was pretty clear that I would have really liked D'Angelo to work on the Warriors, but it was just clear he was not working out, just long term. And I think just having Wiggins for just the potential upside would be better. I'm honestly more upset now that we had to give Spellman up, or the
Yeah.
Warriors gave Spellman up, because he was playing really well, and he kind of looked like he would be a really good contributor for next year. But for tax purposes, we had to include him.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
Spellman.
Yeah, Jacob Evans was trash, so I don't
Yeah.
have anything to say about him. But yeah, I think this Wiggins thing it's interesting. He played pretty well against the Lakers yesterday, and you just hope that he continues that moving forward. And I think the biggest question mark for him his whole career has been just motivation and consistency. And one could hope that when you go from Minnesota to the Bay Area, you become more motivated or more
Yeah.
consistent.
I mean, the Timberwolves have been a historically losing franchise, so
Yeah.
I think good things are in store for Wiggins. I think he has been inconsistent on defense, but I feel like when he gives effort, he's a pretty solid defender, and he's honestly
Yeah.
not a bad 3-point shooter.
Even coming out of college, that's like the exact same thing.
Yeah, no,
So
it
much
was
potential.
always a
when he tries
question.
on defense, he's good. Like,
Yeah, it was always a question of like his motor and whether or not he could keep up the intensity because he's such a
Yeah.
gifted athlete.
Yeah. And it's yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? Like he is good on he is good on defense, and he is a good 3-point shooter. But it's like, all right, are we gonna see this Wiggins once every 10 games, or are we gonna see this every game?
Yeah,
Is he
yeah.
gonna just give us like 5 games in a row where he just kind of just clocks it in, and then he just like has a really good game, or is this gonna be every game, every other game where we can see this consistently? And if it's the latter, then I think this is probably one of the best moves that the Warriors could make, because the upside of Andrew Wiggins, if you have him, especially next year when everyone comes back, then it's going to be a really good team again. But
Yeah.
is that going to happen?
I mean, when you're Andrew Wiggins and you're playing alongside Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, whoever else they're able to add, it's like you don't even need to bring it as consistently on offense as you would need to on like literally any other team. Like all they're asking you to do is play solid defense and shoot open threes, which I think makes your job a lot easier. But also conversely could be like a hit to Andrew Wiggins' like ego, and it could even it could make him less motivated to wanna do those things. So it could work either way. I think it'll probably end up working out better because he is still a talented player and he's never been on a winning team before. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
I
I
think
think
if his only role is just like slashing and spotting up within the Warriors system, like he could be like a really solid piece. But I think it is like a pretty good situation for him because he's going into a winning culture and he's playing alongside like these really good players. So I think he could change his reputation around with with the change of environment. So I am pretty hyped for the rest of this season and next year to see what he can do. But definitely, he doesn't have like a great history. But I think there's definitely potential. So I'm pretty excited for it.
That
I
first
think
rounder is nice too.
Yeah, it's real nice.
like from the Warriors' perspective, what they really want to do is basically be good again like next year, right? So thinking like what other
Yeah.
players they could have got rather than Wiggins. I think Wiggins is actually like pretty good. Like he's pretty up there. Like
Their
if you count-
window is closing.
yeah. So if you really think about like who they can get right now for Russell, like I think Wiggins is actually like pretty high up like on how
Yeah.
that fits with the team coming in next year.
Yeah. And I
So
think in terms of assets, straight up, I think they're definitely trading up if you're taking
yeah,
into account the first rounder they got. And also if you think about their window being pretty short, they have their own first rounder this year.
yeah.
They could package those two together, even with Wiggins or with another player, to try to even trade up further. So, I mean, I don't know if they will do that, but it feels like they have the assets to pull off an even bigger deal if they're trying to land like an even better player. But even if that doesn't happen, they could still play it safe, keep drafting
Wiggins,
well, keep playing with this roster, which is still a contender, I think, with everyone healthy, and just sort of play it safe. Don't try to blow everything up for contending these next couple years. Because the roster with Harrison Barnes instead of Wiggins was still a championship team. And obviously they had a bunch of other pieces involved, but when you're a contender, it's a lot easier to attract those types of players to your team in free agency or through buyouts. So I think they'll have a pretty good time like filling out the rest of their roster, regardless of if they decide to keep him.
I think I'm actually pretty excited for next season. I think like Wiggins brings kind of like a young athletic wing that is kind of missing on the Warriors right now because everyone is like I guess getting older. And that's like someone who's like more dynamic and maybe can have like more explosive games that like win them some playoff games if he puts up like 20 or something. I think it's like a pretty exciting move, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts on
I think
Andrew Wiggins?
no more thoughts on Andrew Wiggins, but do you think Russell on the Timberwolves, like how much of an impact do you think that makes for them?
It definitely makes a big impact on whether or not Carl Anthony Towns wants to stay or not, because they're good friends, and he's probably gonna have a lot more fun playing with Russell than he ever had playing with Wiggins. I
They
don't
have
think
playoff team next year though.
I'm not sure. I don't think so unless they make another move.
Yeah,
They did
probably
smack
get
the
like a good
Clippers
draft
though.
pick. Yeah,
They will get a good draft pick. I don't think the 2021 Minnesota pick will be like a bottom. It'll be a top 3 pick. So I think the Warriors will probably end up getting it if they keep it. But yeah, the roster it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. But even before all this trade stuff happened with the Timberwolves, they made like I guess they're involved with 2 deals. Even
Huh.
before that, like you look at their roster and you wouldn't think that they'd be a bottom 2 team in the West.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of fit questions in that team, but
Yeah. I think this team meshes together a little bit better, but still not enough to be a playoff team in my opinion.
the West
Especially
is
not
kind of
definitely
packed.
not this. They're out of the playoffs this season for sure, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Next
it's
season
pretty.
there's a chance.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting too because I saw a stat that I think the best defensive Timberwolves team before all these trades was it had Gorgie Jang at
Oh
center,
yeah.
and
Saw
then the
that.
worst defensive team was the same exact lineup except with Towns instead of Jang.
Yeah. I think it was like one of the worst defensive lineups in NBA history.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I think Towns, as good of an offensive player as he is, he has to improve a lot on the defensive end before the Timberwolves could even become like a good team. And obviously, most of the Timberwolves like the success is relying on Towns. So it's up to him how much he, I think, just cares about it. So
Yeah.
I feel like Towns
It'll
is
be
like
good for Russell too.
yeah, it's definitely good for Russell.
Russell's never played with anyone as good as Towns, so it'll be interesting to see him. Or
I
I
feel
mean,
like
I guess he like recently, since he got really good.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I think Towns is kind of like a mood based player. So if he's like in a good mood, he'll play hard and play well. But
Like if he's fighting Joel Embiid.
and if he's like fighting Joel Embiid, or if he has Jimmy Butler like in the locker room, that's like alphaing him, he's just not gonna like want to play anymore. So like I feel like he's like really immature, and basically where the Timberwolves are hoping that if they have his best friend, then he'll always be in a good mood and like that'll win them games basically.
Yeah,
Which is
but
like I
even
think
if he's his
such
friend,
stupid.
it's
Like
like
it's like babysitting.
yeah, but it's like, of course they're friends now, but they're gonna be friends when they're losing 20 games in a row. They're losing 10 games in a
That's a
row.
good
They're
point.
getting blown out.
Yeah.
They're gonna start getting pissed because
That's true.
Towns isn't gonna want to take he like you said he's not. I don't think he's that immature, but I do think he is a little bit immature. He has questions about his. There's questions about his motor for sure, whether or not he's always engaged and trying his best, especially on defense. So and he's never. I don't know if he's been really willing to accept that sort of, I guess, not like blame, but responsibility that he has to improve on defense. He's probably said it before. He's probably
Yeah.
said like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna improve on defense. Like I'm working on my defense, whatever." But it's never really improved. So when the onus is really on him to improve, then it's gonna be. I mean, it'll be up to him to show us if he can improve on that aspect of his game, and if not, then I don't think they're a playoff team.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. All right. So next trade, we've got Andre Iguodala going to the Miami Heat. He was also extended. I'm not sure the details of the contract, but it was like a couple more years. They also got Jay
I think
Crowder
it was
and Solomon
2
Hill.
years, 30 million.
2 years, 30 million. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Grizzlies get Dion Waiters, who they just waived like very recently. Justice Winslow and Gorgie Dieng. And the Timberwolves got James Johnson. This is an interesting trade. I didn't think the Heat would be the ones to deal for Iguodala. What do you guys think?
I think like every playoff team kind of wanted Iguodala just because of like the veteran experience he provides, as well as like he's an excellent defender, excellent leader, and he has experience in the playoffs. So I do think it's a good move for the Heat to go for Iggy in this case, especially because they're trying to contend, and then Justice Winslow wasn't really playing that much because he was always getting injured. And the Heat are already like a pretty solid team. I just don't know if this is like a difference maker. I think the
Mm.
Heat are definitely better with Iggy, but like if I just like think about it, like Iggy's not gonna get you past the Bucks. Like
Mhm.
like they could get you past like one of the other teams, but I just don't see like
Yeah,
Iggy getting them past the Bucks. So like it's a nice move, but I don't know how well it's gonna work out.
yeah. Like the last time we saw Iggy play, he really wasn't. He wasn't the same Iguodala on those championship winning rosters with the Warriors.
Yeah.
He was a little bit slower, a little bit less, less athletic. Just like he just wasn't as good overall, and he
Yeah.
hasn't been playing. So it's hard to say how much of an impact he'll make. He's definitely a plus. This is definitely a win-win trade because he was not playing at all for the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And Justice Winslow, like you said, was not really playing. He's been injured for most of the year.
Yeah. I think Iggy might be like slightly overrated at this point in his career, just because of the fact that like he was on the Warriors teams and he won Finals MVP. So everybody's saying he's like this great piece to add. Um, but in reality, he hasn't been playing, so we don't really know what state he's in. So we're kind of just like the Heat probably when signing him are just like they have an image of him from like the past that may not be how he is right now.
Because if he's as good as he was on those championship Warriors teams, or like even close, if he can play like 15, 20 minutes for them in the playoffs against a team like the Bucks or like the Celtics, the Raptors, all these teams that have really strong wing players, if he can play 20 minutes of good defense, then this trade is obviously worth it for them. I think either way it's worth it, but there is a chance though that he's just not ready to be playing in those types of games, or that he's just past the point in his career where he can make a playoff impact, which I don't think so. I think he can still make an impact in the playoffs.
Like there's like a couple of things here. I think for Iggy at least, this is like a very. It's basically like best case scenario. Like there's no way he would have got this much money from any of the LA teams, and it's actually so much money considering what stage of the career he's at. So I think for him, it like makes 100% sense to like make a lot of money and be in like a championship contending team. So if I was Iggy, I'd be like super ecstatic. Um, and also for the Heat, I think it's actually like a really good move because like they really want to play Justice Winslow as like a point guard, and that was like mainly because they wanted like a pretty like a tall lineup that can all defend and like switch. So I think Iggy is basically that for them, and then they don't have to rely on like Dragic as much in the playoffs, which is kind of nice because like Dragic is much more of like a liability on defense. So what they're hoping to do is like basically have like a really like really agile, really dynamic switch on everything defense with Iggy at like point guard, and that could be like pretty dangerous, I think, in the
You
playoff
think
run.
you think Iggy can run their offense? I don't think he's that kind of player anymore. I think maybe he was prior in his career, but I don't know if you want him doing that for your team. I don't think they need it. They already have Dragic.
I think they will need that in the playoffs because I don't think Dragic is gonna be as like as useful as he is in the regular season in the playoffs.
Yeah, but and you saw Iguodala play in the finals and in the playoffs last year. He was not a player that I'd want to be like running the offense.
Like
I don't think he's that versatile of an offensive player anymore.
I think like the past year he was like pretty injured and it was like really and he's getting old so like there's a lot of run on his body and I'm pretty sure like all he did this whole entire year was just train in the Bay Area and like
Just
just get
chilling.
healthy. So he's probably in like tip top shape and
Yeah,
like
but
really
even then, I
ready
feel like
to play.
him and Winslow have very different skill sets in my mind. I feel like Iguodala is not as much of a facilitator, not as good of a passer as Winslow was, in my opinion. I don't think they fulfill the same role at all. I feel like Iguodala is at this point in his career, he's not that kind of player. He's a player you can bring in for 15, 20 minutes in the playoffs to defend the other team's best wing, and you hope that he can make some open threes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think you can rely on him to run the offense for like your second unit or anything like that. I think players like Dragic are much more suited to that role.
I guess we'll definitely have to see. But I think if he does end up assuming that role, it'll be like kind of a game changer for them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess. I
if
guess
he's
that's
like
like
better,
the ceiling for Iguodala.
if he ends up being better than expected, he could assume the role that you're saying. But I think it's probably more likely that he
Possibly.
doesn't. Yeah,
It's a lot to ask out of this old man.
old.
But yeah, I like the trade for I like that the Grizzlies got Winslow. I think he's a good player, and he definitely showed that in the beginning of this season before he got hurt. He played great in the games without Butler, and he sort of
Yeah.
ran the offense.
He adds
But
to
he's
like the
definitely
young culture too.
he's still an inconsistent player, not a great shooter. But the Grizzlies are, like you said, up and coming. So I think it's a good fit. And they got Dieng too, who, good defender, solid
Yeah,
player.
no, the Grizzlies made some solid moves here. I'm really excited to keep watching them.
Yeah, they're an exciting team. And the Timberwolves got James Johnson, who's actually pretty solid.
He's not bad. I think I don't. I'm gonna say I don't know what the Timberwolves are doing in terms of the identity of the team that but they're bringing some good players, and I guess that's a positive.
Yeah.
But
I think it might be that Dieng clogs the paint. He's like not that good of a shooter. So it might be that they're trying to.
Yeah, sort
He's
of.
not a good one. I don't
Yeah.
think James Johnson is a good shooter either. But
At least like James Johnson is like quicker, more versatile as like a cutter. So that could be the reasoning. Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's an excellent move, but it might just be like, oh, like we want to open up some room for Towns to work down low.
yeah,
Yeah, I think they want to, like what a lot of teams are trying to do. They're trying to, but besides like maybe having like a star big man, they want to build pieces around them that are more than just like one trick players who can do a lot of things, who are versatile. And Dieng isn't really that kind of player. He's like a traditional big man who can shoot a little bit, but he's not going to do that much more on offense. And he's not as switchable. Not that James Johnson is like, some transcendent two-way player, but
James
he
Johnson's
is,
just like more. He can move better.
yeah, he's
Slightly.
just a more flexible player. You can, you don't have to worry about him too much on offense, like getting in anyone else's way and taking up Towns' minutes.
Honestly, I didn't even know James Johnson was like not on the Heat anymore.
Oh,
I can't believe this guy is actually still in the league.
well, now you know. Wait, he's been
Yeah.
playing a decent amount.
That's very much news.
You gotta
to
watch
me.
some more Heat games, man.
Yeah, I thought you
Who's
said you
playing?
liked the Heat. You got a Heat jacket.
Was he playing on the? Wait, what? Oh, he was playing on the Heat this season. Oh shit.
Yeah, I love it.
Wait, yeah, that's why he got traded from the Heat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Who do you think traded him?
Okay. I thought he was like on the Grizzlies for some reason. Okay,
Hell
that makes more
no.
sense then. I was like,
No. The Grizzlies did trade Jay Crowder, who someone we didn't talk about at all, but he could make a little bit of an impact for them. He's not a bad player. He's not a great shooter, but
Yeah.
who knows?
He's
Sometimes
average.
random players like Jay Crowder can
Jay
do something.
Crowder has like random pop-off games, and then on average, he's like pretty like mediocre.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think the Grizzlies will make the playoffs?
It's hard to say.
I think Portland overtakes them.
I'm hoping
Ooh.
Portland overtakes them.
I
Yeah,
don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like the Trailblazers might even take a step back when Nurkic comes back, because they're gonna have to work on reincorporating him into the lineup, and he's not gonna be that great, especially like right off the gate. So if that ends up happening, I could see them slowing down, but they have been really hot lately.
I really
For
want
sure.
Portland to make it because I think they have to at least make it if Lillard is to be in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I agree. If they're not in the playoffs,
Ooh.
he's not an MVP candidate.
Yeah. But he's playing so well that I really want him to be. Like, he deserves it.
I think
Yeah,
it's
but-
tough though. I think Giannis is, in my eyes,
Yeah,
Probably the lock
definitely
for-
Giannis is up there too.
He's not gonna win the MVP just by making the playoffs,
Yeah.
especially if the
Yeah.
Bucks keep it up. Like I
and
think,
especially if the Blazers only like barely make it to like 7th or 8th seed. Bucks are like
Yeah.
comfortably first.
yeah, Giannis could be another like unanimous MVP if the Bucks keep up this season.
Yeah.
All right, Morris for Mo Harkless.
Yeah, this is it's a pretty substantial trade, a contender making a move. So the Clippers received Marcus Morris from the Knicks and Isaiah Thomas, who was waived. And the Knicks received Mo Harkless, the draft rights to Yusuf Sanon. I don't know who that is, but
I have no
Some-
idea who that is.
some overseas player. The 2020 Clippers first rounder and 2022 Detroit second round pick. And the Wizards received Jerome Robinson from the Clippers. So yeah, Marcus Morris, he's
Definitely
been
an upgrade.
yeah, he's been in a lot of trade talks. He's having a good season. The only question here is this a good fit for the Clippers? Because in terms of talent, it's a definite upgrade, and he's just overall a better player than Mo Harkless.
honestly, I feel like Mo Harkless was a better player.
Oh, really?
I think Marcus Morris is kind of a ball hog, and he like chucks.
He is a ball hog, but he has better numbers, and he's a better shooter. I don't think
he
can
just
argue
shoots
that.
more on the Knicks. Like he's a
Yeah, he
centerpiece
shoots
of like their
more.
offense on the
Shoots
Knicks.
more, but he's a 40% plus 3-point shooter.
So I think we can say from a skill perspective, it's an upgrade. And then
Yes.
I guess what you're arguing is a fit,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
I think
that's what I was
Mo Harkless
asking.
so good for the Clippers.
Really?
Yeah, I think he was playing like, I guess in the beginning of the season he was playing really well, and he would be able to like switch from like to bigs to like wings.
I think Marcus
Knock
Morris
down.
can do that too, though. Like the switchability. Part.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's as good of a defender as Mo Harkless.
Mm.
Also, Mo Harkless was really key to Portland's run last year. He was really good for them, and they really miss him now because they.
You
missed
see him
that.
in the playoffs though? He was kind of garbage.
I think he was doing his job basically. I don't think he like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but his job is to score like 8 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, he is
Like, on that
basically,
Blazers
knock
team,
down
he-
open shots and then play good D. So I think like that kind of
He-
player is really key to like what the Clippers are trying to do, right?
He
they
doesn't
don't
shoot
really-
threes that often though. Like he just doesn't. He doesn't shoot.
He's decent. I guess I'll pull up some stats, but I think he's a pretty good 3-point shooter.
I think like one thing, if I were to say from the Mo Harkless side, like one thing that you can say is Mo Harkless definitely has like a better temperament. Like there's less risk that he'll cause turmoil or conflict if he's on your team. He doesn't need the ball much.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have like as much of an ego. He doesn't talk as much. While Marcus Morris does a lot more of those things.
Wait,
So
who did
like
Marcus Morris fight again?
I don't remember.
Dude, I need.
Jay Crowder.
Oh, that was Jay Crowder.
Or no, he said Jay Crowder had female tendencies.
Yeah.
I think he was fighting someone else.
Marcus Morris, man.
Yeah, so it like he could bring like more conflict, but I think just strictly if we talk basketball, like I'd rather have Marcus Morris every time.
Oh, he
Yeah,
fought
Marcus
Bobby
Morris is
Portis like a
something.
couple years ago.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
No,
was
this guy's
legendary.
always in fights.
yeah.
Marcus Morris he's shooting 44% from 3 on 6 attempts per game.
Yeah,
That's-
that's actually an insane number.
Dude,
That's
that's
like-
so good.
Yeah, that's like among the league leaders. So he's miles ahead of Mo Harkless just as a shooter. But the problem is in the playoffs, like you said, with the fit, like is it going to work out? He is a ball hog, and he has a lot of confidence. He's definitely an irrational confidence player who like he probably thinks he's like the best player in the world.
Yeah, he definitely thinks he's the best player.
Especially when he's making shots, he probably thinks he's the best player on the planet. And I don't know if you want that out of like a bench guy from the playoffs, or like a guy who's not one of your top 2 or 3 or 4 options.
I think if he went to the Lakers, he'd be really good because the Lakers need like another basically like scorer or threat. But on the Clippers,
Yeah.
he's like, eh.
Yeah, I do agree that this is an upgrade. I don't know if this is a type of move that like this move definitely doesn't like definitively bring them over any other team. I think
Yeah.
it's still close between like Clippers, Lakers, Clippers, Bucks. Like, yeah, it's just a
He's
nice
had-
to have.
Yeah, Morris has had moments of brilliance and moments of not brilliance. So who's to say what's going to happen? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I
Feel
think
bad for Mo Harkless though.
yeah,
He could have won a ring
yeah,
this
feel
year.
bad for anyone going to the Knicks. Oh wait, no, didn't Mo Harkless said he's excited to be on the Knicks?
Really?
Yeah, he said he grew up a Knicks fan, so
Yeah,
he's,
he's a
Oh,
Knicks
okay.
fan, so he's
Good for
happy.
him,
Never
then.
mind. Never mind.
Yeah, good for him.
You do you, Mo. Keep it up.
Oh man.
Hey, there's a lot less pressure on him now. He can just do whatever he wants.
that's true. Yeah,
All
Right.
right, next trade.
Next one. These ones are a little bit less.
I don't think we
substantial
have
trades.
to cover these too much in
We can-
depth. But
We can talk a little bit about the Sixers. I think they're an interesting topic, regardless of the fact that they made a pretty small move at the deadline. But
I think this move makes no impact. But you should share what it is worth.
I think it can make a tiny bit of impact. But they got Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson III from the Warriors for 3 second-round picks. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's
that-
a good trade for the Sixers.
Yeah, you think
Really
it's
taking-
no impact? I think it's a very small.
I think there is an impact, but like the way I look at like the Sixers' problems right now is not that they need more like pieces or talent. It's just like a mismatch between the talented pieces that they have already. So I think like my personal opinion on the Embiid Simmons scenario is like they can't be like a championship team with the two of them together. Like I just don't think they work. So when like since I have that perspective on it, I don't think adding these two pieces are gonna change that in any way.
Yeah, that's true. But I think they're still not a bad team. They're
For
definitely
sure.
way worse than we thought. We definitely thought they'd be a lot better. But who knows? Like Alec Burks could be the kind of player who could swing a series for them in the playoffs, swing a
Mhm.
game or two. And they have enough talent to, to be up there with all of the best teams in the East on any given night. It's just a matter of consistency and whether or not they'll ever figure out what to do with Embiid and Simmons.
Part of it's like motor too. Like I think
Yeah.
Embiid like slacks off a lot and doesn't play to his full potential.
Yeah, Simmons plays pretty passive a lot of the time, especially when Embiid is on the court. They're never both. It's been. I don't even remember the last time I saw both of them play really well together in the same game.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't.
a
I don't know
little
if
bit
that's ever happened.
infuriating.
I kind of think that's never happened. Yeah, it's too bad because they're so talented players, but they just don't fit together at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the answer to their problems, but I think it's better than not having them.
Hmm.
I think they're good scorers, and I think that's what the Sixers need right now. But
True.
yeah, I think the Simmons and Embiid conversation is a later one to have.
The Sixers are not gonna have a good year this season. I think it's like
They already haven't been having a good year.
I
But
think
you're
there's-
saying
there's
it's
no
it's
looking up.
over as in what does that mean?
I
Like
think
what
if-
is over?
If they face Toronto, Celtics, Bucks, Celtics, Heat. If they face any of them in the playoffs, they just lose, and they're just gonna exit. There's no.
Really.
I feel like they have too much like internal drama and like internal turmoil, while the other teams are all like very like a unit. Like the Heat
Yeah.
have really good cohesion. Raptors, Bucks, they all have
Yeah.
a super good cohesion. If they face any of those guys, they just lose.
Yeah.
So it's
No,
not
I
going to be a
definitely
good year
agree
for
with
the
that.
Sixers.
Yeah. I
That's
think it's
probably
too late.
true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think it's that simple of an issue. I don't think you can just say because they don't get along, they have no chance of winning. I agree. I think because there's conflict and because the play styles clash so significantly, there's almost 0% chance they win the title. But that doesn't mean that they can't beat one of the top Eastern Conference teams in like a series.
I would if I had to bet, I would do what you just said, Ming. But I think like I wouldn't be surprised at all if the 76ers like beat like the Raptors or something because they have the talent to do so.
Yeah, I definitely would not be surprised. And also, Korkmaz has been playing really great lately.
Yeah. Didn't he score
Oh,
like
yeah.
39 points in 29 minutes or something?
Yeah, he has 19 in the second quarter right now against the Bulls.
My man's staying out of the drama, just knocking down those threes.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has one job.
yeah.
Also,
Also,
his
Glenn
kicks
Robinson's playing.
are always really nice. He has like
True.
he has always like really bright. He's like this bright yellow shoe that's so nice. I don't know what it is, but
It's just bright yellow.
Okay.
no, but it's like I need to look it up. That man actually
Can't
has
even
the
see
best
it.
sneaker game on the whole Eastern Conference.
Best shoe game is Korkmaz.
Yeah,
That's what you're telling me?
that guy is nuts, dude.
All right.
You don't even know what shoe he's wearing.
I
Yeah.
know I gotta figure
How
this
can you
out.
say he
All
got the
right.
best?
I think it's time to move on.
All right. Last kind of substantial trade is Dwayne Dedman coming back to the Hawks. They're also getting 2 Kings second rounders for Jabari Parker and Alex Len. It's kind of random trade, but I mean Dedman's a solid player, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like an alright trade. I think everyone's past the Jabari Parker hype.
Yeah,
Dwayne Dedman played really well on the Hikes on the Hawks. They played like shit on the Kings. So I mean, I think this works out well for both teams. You know?
yeah. It's funny that draft, the Wiggins, Parker, Embiid draft was like so hyped, and now all these players. Embiid is good. Don't get me wrong, but he's been playing bad this season. Wiggins got shipped. Jabari Parker, he's been on like 8 teams.
Somehow, like the media convinced me that Wiggins and like Parker were like the next coming of like LeBron and Melo,
Yeah.
and that's like the most wrong thing ever. But like that was like the amount of hype there was.
There was,
kinda
I mean,
they were
Jabari Parker when he was on the Bucks was pretty good.
Yeah,
I
but
think, yeah, if Giannis wasn't like, if Giannis just didn't turn into like this beast, like Jabari Parker could still be like their main guy.
yeah. It's just funny to think about that draft. There's so many players that are disappointing from that draft, like Aaron Gordon, Dante
Oh
Exum,
no, Aaron Gordon was on that
Oh
draft.
no.
Oh my
Nick
god.
Stauskas.
I heard,
Oh man.
yeah, I remember distinctly. Dante Exum was named the Australian D Rose.
No, he was really good before he
Yeah,
came to the NBA and got
yeah,
injured.
Oh yeah, he's tore his
But
ACL instantly, right?
yeah.
yeah, but so many of these players are just not in the league anymore or not good, which is it's sad because this draft it was a really hyped draft. I thought it was going to be really good. But yeah,
Yeah.
Dedmon, they're just bringing him back. He's solid center, but he hasn't been playing at all for the Kings.
That's true. Yeah.
Not really much to talk about. All right, that's it for most of the trades. There are some other minor ones, but mostly just like teams opening up roster spots for other trades or signings. So
What do
you
you
can
guys think of the
oh,
Thunder not making any moves?
I think it makes sense because
They're
they're
the
a good
sixth
team.
seed, right?
But they're like barely the 6th seed. They're in the
Yeah,
same
but I mean
division as
that's way
Dallas.
better. That
Yeah, no one expected them to be the sixth seed.
Yeah.
yeah, we thought I thought they'd be like one of the three bottom teams in the Western Conference, and
I don't.
they're not even that far off from the fourth seed, which is insane. They're 2 games off the Jazz for the fourth seed.
I think the only rationale to make a move is if the move will get you into championship level, and I don't see like any move that they can make right now to do that. So I think they're in a solid spot with what they have.
Yeah, I think it was good that they didn't deal Gallinari
Yeah.
Think
because
so? Oh.
I don't think there'd be any way for them to get something really amazing for him from another contender. Because otherwise, there'd be no reason they'd be trading for him if they're trading down for him. They'd
I
be
feel
trading like random pieces and picks, and they don't really need that. They got so many picks from the
could have
Clippers.
got like young talent from the Heat if they wanted.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, what
who?
was
Like
on the table, but
like who would they even gotten?
I feel like Kendrick Nunn or like yeah, or
Maybe, but I don't think they need those kinds of players.
like they're in a weird spot because even though they're in the playoff hunt, their talent is like kind of old, except for Shy. So I don't know like what their like long term outlook is. I mean, having good
I mean,
playoff.
they have so many picks. They have like a million
Oh
picks
yeah,
from the
Yeah,
Clippers,
and
and
then they
Shea
just
is like
build around Shea.
yeah,
yeah,
Shea
they
is
could
like
definitely build
he's like a franchise type player that you can build around. So I
Yeah.
think it's fine that they stood pat at the deadline because they want to guarantee that they can still be in the playoffs. If they dealt Gallinari, there's a chance they could slip out of the playoff. They want to give Shea and all their other guys on their roster some playoff experience.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
playoff experience.
I think that's
is
actually
something.
really good. The fact that they're in the playoffs and they have as many picks as they do, like they're
Yeah,
actually in a
exactly.
really solid spot.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like I said, it's a good thing that they didn't trade anybody unless they got some amazing offer, but that almost never happens at the deadline unless it's for like a superstar. All right, anything else? Any other trade deadline things to talk about? That's pretty much it.
I think that's all I got.
All right, let's move on to the All-Star game / All-Star weekend, which is next week. So what do you guys think about the rosters? Do you think there's any like notable snubs? Anyone who shouldn't have made it?
Um, I think one player for sure. I think Bradley Beal for sure should have made it. I also
Okay.
think I think Devin Booker had an argument to make it too. I think I saw somewhere online like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal are the first players in like a really long time to average more than 27 points per game and still not make it. And I
Mhm.
guess you can say it's because their teams are like pretty bad, but I don't know. Like there are definitely players on both teams that I feel like you could have left out on both All Star teams. I mean that you could have left out
Mhm.
that I would have chosen. I would have chosen like Booker or Bradley Beal over those players. So I don't
Yeah,
think it's
I
like
think
yeah.
I think it's still pretty close, but
Yeah.
if I had to say like the player, at least from the West, who's least deserving? Probably Brandon Ingram.
Ooh.
Brandon Ingram or
Yeah.
Chris Paul, I'd say.
Yeah, I like that they rewarded Chris Paul, but I do think his numbers aren't that amazing. But I think his impact on the game
Yeah, I
on
agree with that.
and on their winning has been too important for them to ignore.
I think
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram is kind of in the same boat as Devin Booker because like they're both on like non-playoff teams and they're both playing well. So in that case, I think I
They're
would have
pretty.
given it to Booker.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
pretty interchangeable, but I think Booker
yeah.
has had better stats.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at a certain point, I think going forward with All-Star voting, I think it's always important. It's going to be important to value other things besides just stats too, because I think Bradley Beal is a good example of this. It's this scoring. I think like over. Yeah, he's scoring a lot. I think he's scoring like definitely over 27, as Anthony
It's
said.
like
But
28 points per game.
Yeah.
an insane amount for someone that got snubbed from the All-Star team. But then you take into context that the Wizards routinely this season have given up 140 plus points per game.
Yeah.
Their defense is non-existent, which makes like scoring a lot easier for someone that's on the Wizards. And I think defense is also like a big part of it. I think I remember seeing a stat that I think objectively for players that have scored that same amount, I think over 25 points per game, the two worst defenders based on advanced stats were Booker and Beal. So
That's pretty
savage.
interesting.
That's
yeah,
funny.
so and I think that's objectively like Brandon Ingram, I think even Kyle Lowry and Chris Paul, players that it's questionable, but I think at the end of the day, I think the right players were chosen just because they are at least one of two of like a good defender or contributing to their team success. I think
Yeah.
the problem I have, especially with Beal, Booker, maybe a little bit less so, but Beal is on a team where their defense, like I said, non-existent. Like their scores are like 130 to 122, like on a regular day, and no one blinks an eye. Team Wizards have given up like 40-point quarters like multiple times this season, and I think it just makes it a lot easier to say, "Oh, look, this guy's an all-star because he has this amount of points per game." But it has to be all taken into context, right? Like you can't.
I like that they're rewarding winning.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think that at first I was kind of confused about the Paul one, but you compare like the expectations that the Thunder went into the season, and you compare them to like where they are now. Chris Paul's been a huge part of that, and like Kevin said, All-Star, you get the All-Star selection, you gotta reward people who like genuinely deserve it. I think like Chris Paul has been very, very deserving of that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with the Beal side of it. I think the Booker Ingram argument is interesting to me, just because like I think they're pretty much in the same boat as I said before, and then Booker also he's averaging like 27 points per game on 50% shooting, and he increased his assists to like 5 to 6 this year. So he's definitely playing like insane. I think his motor on defense has improved a lot too. So I would honestly give the spot to Booker over Ingram, possibly even over Donovan Mitchell. But that's just like my personal opinion.
Yeah. I think with Ingram, people were probably more willing to give him the nod because he's improved a lot. He's made a huge leap last
That's
season.
true.
Yeah,
And also the Pelicans have been on national TV more than the Suns.
makes sense.
So I think his improvement and his good play has been like more visible to more of the league. And they want to reward him for for making a big leap.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But I agree that I think Booker is more deserving. But it's it's pretty close. It's
Yeah. And
hard to argue that, Ingram's not like super undeserving.
Yeah.
Another like topic is like Trae Young starting over Jimmy Butler. I know that's like a fan vote thing, but like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I don't think Trae Young should be starting, but I mean it's fan vote, so
Yeah.
people like
Yeah, he's
him.
a lot more popular than I think anyone that is a reserve on the East, in my opinion.
And also,
I
Butler was listed as a front court player. I think.
Yeah, that was kind of troll.
Yeah, even though he does play a lot of minutes at shooting guard.
Yeah.
So that
But-
definitely made it harder for him to get voted in.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, I like these all-star teams. I think it's no one got. Yeah, I think Booker is like the only one that, in my eyes, could be argued for. But I think they got they got these pretty right.
Yeah, I think you could also argue for Jaylen Brown over Tatum. But
Yeah,
that's like that's pretty interchangeable. They're both on the same team and both have been playing really well.
yeah.
So do you guys have Team LeBron or Team Giannis based on what you see here?
100% Team LeBron. I
Wait,
think Giannis.
Giannis,
I don't know what this dude is thinking, but
Giannis is
He just
trolling.
chose like East players.
Wait,
Pick,
wait, did he
pick all the East players.
did he draft Middleton first?
Yeah, this is in order.
Oh, no, so he didn't draft Milton first.
Oh my, he
No,
drafted.
but
Embiid?
you have to draft starters before reserves.
Oh yeah.
So he drafted Middleton first out of all the reserves, and then he just picked all of the East starters in order, basically.
I can't believe he actually picked Embiid.
The second pick was Bam.
Yeah.
yeah.
Bam.
I mean, honestly, if I can also see a situation like they take defense really seriously. Like you have Giannis, Bam, Middleton. Like you have some really good defensive players on the team, Giannis's team, but if it's just like an all offense game like the All-Star game, they're gonna get destroyed.
Yeah. They have a lot of good defenders though, and they're a huge team.
Yeah, that's the only reason. That's the only, and I think Giannis actually said like, "Oh, I wanted to draft players that like play hard or like something like that."
Oh,
I think that's like it does make sense. Like these players are definitely like more scrappy players, but it's just a matter of how seriously they'll take the All-Star game.
I mean, hey, with the new format, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they could just like, they play the first 3 quarters, whatever, maybe they win or lose. And then when it comes time for the last quarter, they're like, okay, we're going to lock down on defense. We're not going to let them score, and we're just going to win the game.
Yeah.
Wait, Kevin, can you share the format in case anyone doesn't know what
Okay,
the
yeah.
format
So,
is?
so it's kind of confusing, but basically each of the first 3 quarters, they're just like normal 12-minute long quarters, are like kind of like separate games. So at the end of each quarter, the winning team will get money for their charity. And then after the first 3 quarters, in the fourth quarter is kind of confusing, but in the fourth quarter, they'll add 24 to the total score of whichever team has more points total in the first 3 quarters. And then that's the new target score, and whoever reaches that score first wins more money for whatever charity.
So the game can take however long. Until
Yeah, so
they reach
it's
that
until
Yeah.
until someone reaches the target score, which shouldn't take that long.
So I guess like one thing that could go wrong is if the other team's down by 20 at the end of the third
Oh yeah,
quarter.
then it's really hard for them to come back.
Yeah.
But I feel like that'll end up happening.
Huh.
I
don't know,
don't think this fixes the problem of players not really trying or caring.
Wait, I think this format is really bad.
Yeah,
Why do you think it's bad?
Yeah, why do you think it's bad, Ming?
I think it's really bad because it's basically if you're a player like Kawhi Leonard and you're honestly just trying to go home, like basically you don't want to score that many points in the first 3 quarters because then the target will be lower and then
Wait, no.
Wait, no, it's
Wait,
whoever has the highest, whoever has the higher score.
Yeah, it's whoever has the highest score, and you add 24 to that. Both teams have to get that. So it's like at the end of the third quarter, if the score is 195, then the final target score is going to be 124 points. So both teams need to get a 124.
Does that make sense?
so then you have to go from 0 to 124.
No.
So you go from- yeah.
It's
So you go from, like-
125.
Okay.
Oh, we're
I
not-
see. Okay.
We're not playing like an 80-minute game.
Yeah, that makes a lot.
Wait, that
more
would
sense.
mean you play like 1 game to 3 quarters to determine the starting score, and then you play
a whole other
a new
game.
game
Yeah.
to reach 124.
Oh, okay. So the last quarter is really short. It's just 20.
Yeah, there's no timer for it. It's just
Yeah.
whoever reaches the target score first.
So
And yeah, the
do you still think
24
it's
is.
bad?
Did you still think? Yeah, now that you understand what it is.
I feel like as a player who like if you're just there just to, like for fun, basically, like I don't think I would want to try it. Like
Well, yeah, no
first
one
three
wants to try
quarters.
ever.
Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
So
gonna
I don't
happen
think
anyways
it's.
right now.
I don't necessarily think it's worse in terms of like player engagement, but I just think it's worse because it's more complicated and most people aren't going to want to learn the rules. It's harder to understand for fans, at least. Other than that, though, it's basically the same as any other All Star game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily solves the problem. I think one thing you can say is like having a target score like kind of gives more incentive for the players to do something, like to try harder, because if it's just a time, then like players will just coast until the time's over, right? But like
yeah,
if they know like okay, fuck, like this game's not gonna end until I score this many points, then
yeah,
they might
yeah.
try a bit harder.
Also, there could be if all the quarters are close, then there could be like 4 game winners in this game. There could be like
Yeah,
4 situations where it's like, oh, it's kind of intense now, but it's kind of like artificial intensity.
yeah. I don't think that the whole like charity thing is like that exciting. I know like
Yeah,
they add that to give players incentive, but I don't think from a fan perspective that's like that exciting.
yeah, and even from a player perspective, it doesn't give them that much incentive to play really hard.
Yeah, because I mean they could donate anyways,
Yeah, exactly.
like
They
by
have so much.
themselves. So
So yeah, All Star game still kind of, you know,
Still meh.
yeah,
yeah,
meh.
and
It'll
I'll
never be.
probably I'll probably just like have it on, be on my phone or something.
Yeah, it'll never be like anything super amazing or intense until they figure out some magical format. But this is definitely not that. But yeah, anyway, we got also the day before on Saturday all the random individual events, the Taco Bell skills challenge, the Mountain Dew 3-point shooting contest.
I
What's the dunk contest? Is it Pepsi
wouldn't
or
be
like
surprised if
Sprite?
it's Sprite.
I
Yeah,
think it's like Sprite Slam Dunk. Yeah, Sprite Slam
yeah.
Dunk contest. So the
I
three
think the
point
skills
contest,
challenge is completely pointless.
skills challenge, no
Wait,
one
what?
cares.
Yeah. Wait, do you care
I
about the
like the
skills
skills
challenge?
challenge. It's fun to
Oh
watch.
no.
No.
Wait, why is it bad? I mean,
Wait,
it's
what?
not
What do you
real
like? What do you like about
Yeah.
the skill? What do you like about the skills challenge? The
It's,
best
it's,
part in the history of the event was when Jason Tatum made a half court shot.
yeah, that's pretty cool. But
Yeah,
it's
but
like
that never happens. Usually, it's like you watch Joel Embiid try to pass through a hole and he just can't do it, and then he gives up.
I think it's dumb because it's not basketball, but it's fun because it's like a carnival game.
Yeah, it's like a carnival game, but it
You know
doesn't.
exactly,
It's
but
called
that's
skills challenge, but it doesn't. It's not actually true skill.
No,
that's
but
why
it's
they should
fun.
just replace it with like an actual carnival game that's meant to be funny.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's good that it's like not basketball because then players can like take it.
No,
more
it is basketball. It's all basketball skills.
No, it's not really like it doesn't like being good at this challenge doesn't mean like you're actually good at basketball.
Or
But
like I think
Well, yeah,
like
no, being
Karl
good
Anthony
at
Towns
being
won
good at
one.
slam dunk, being good at the slam dunks doesn't mean you're good at basketball.
yeah, that's why I
But
like
it's still
it.
interesting to watch.
It should be like something that's not basketball, so the people don't take it personally and like they can have fun with it. You
But
just
it
want to
would be
see like you just want to see who wins
okay.
just for like the sake
Just for
of
the
like,
entertainment
winning.
value.
Well, yeah, no, but wouldn't it be entertaining though if there was more at stake?
They like try
Players,
harder.
players actually cared about who won.
I used to see like Chris Paul just like coasting around like
Yeah,
the
no
cones.
one,
Like he's like
no one
just chilling. Like
cares.
he's the
Yeah.
quickest person there, and he's just coasting because he doesn't.
No one
care.
cares at all about the skills challenge.
Yeah, but I, in a sense, like you can't really make them like try. Like, so I think it's good how it is because there's like a balance between how much of like personal pride do you put on like their line, or like how much do players actually want to try because this is still like kind of an off weekend.
Yeah.
So like I think it's good where it is right now, where it's just like
There
it's
is a
just
way
for fun.
though. There is a way though to make people or make it more interesting. I think because I think the event as a whole is just like it's too all over the place. It doesn't. It's not really. None of the actual skills that people are doing are interesting, and they're not even really doing them that quickly. So it's not like, oh, he's showing us his full court speed, like he's so fast, or like he's showing us like
Yeah.
these dribble moves. It's like they're just doing these they're doing things really lazily. They're doing things that like you and I could do, right? Like I could pass a ball to the hole if you give me like 10 tries. I can make a wide open three. I can make a layup. I can dribble around some things. I want to see
Actually-
stuff. I want to see stuff that only NBA players can do, like the slam dunk contest. I can't do that. That's why I want to watch it.
I think the only
That's
thing
why
I
I think,
remember
like-
from last year is like J. Cole's performance at the halftime show.
Oh, that was really good.
That was really good. But like that's the only thing
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
about All-Star Weekend last year.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I don't think I watched very much of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're gonna replace the skills challenge, you could go one of two ways. You could make it like a serious event, like a one-on-one tournament, or you could make
yeah.
it something really troll, which is my personal favorite idea. But
You should share your idea first, Kevin.
okay, so I think going along with the theme of like carnival games, I think you could just make an event that's supposed to be. It's not really a joke. I think it should still be kind of serious. It shouldn't be a complete joke, but it's mostly for fan entertainment. I think the main problem with this event actually would be getting players to participate because people would just be laughing at them. But if people were okay with it, I would replace the Taco Bell Skills Challenge. I'm trying to think of a sponsor. I'm trying to think of a sponsor for it. Round Table Rebounding Contest,
Oh man,
Round table.
sponsored by
Yeah,
Round
okay.
Table Pizza.
around
All right.
bounds.
So the way
So,
the contest
Is this a
works-
1v1 thing or is it like a free for all?
I'm thinking that it should be a tournament. It should be a
Right.
1v1 tournament, or actually, yeah, it should be a tournament, but there's more stipulations. So first of all, they should invite all the top rebounders from the league, people who've averaged the most rebounds per game. That doesn't necessarily mean they're good rebounders, but they pick up the ball. So get in this theoretical rebounding contest, we'd have Andre Drummond, we've had Rudy Gobert, Hassan Whiteside.
Bonus.
Who else is even in there?
Top rebounders.
Top rebounders.
Kevin
Giannis.
Love.
Giannis.
Kevin Love.
Kevin Love. Giannis is averaging like 14 boards a game or something
Oh,
crazy.
Jesus. I didn't even know.
Bam. Who else gets boards?
Wait,
I don't know.
Personally, I think we should, just like the skills challenge, we should allow big men and guards to like battle.
Oh yeah, no, I know. No, that's why my last player is Russell Westbrook.
Wait, I need Patrick Beverly in this contest.
Okay, we'll have Patrick Beverly
I need to see
and
him
Russell
like
Westbrook. in the
dominate a
contest.
big man.
Okay, yeah. So the way the contest works, it'll be seeded based on their rebounds per game,
Okay,
and
okay.
they'll play each other 1-on-1 in this rebounding contest. I'm not sure of the exact specifics, but basically, there'll be someone shooting the ball, preferably a bad shooter like Ben Simmons or like Joel Embiid, someone who they're gonna chuck it up and it's probably gonna miss. You should tell them to miss on purpose, though. And then,
You can have one of the rebounders that isn't playing, like shoot the three.
oh yeah, like
Like Rudy Gobert.
yeah, yeah. No, if you get eliminated, you have to shoot.
Yeah.
It's good too because both the guards we invited are really bad 3-point shooters. And then okay, so they're rebounding. I think it'll be like a first to 10
Oh,
rebound,
man.
and for every rebound you get is $100 cash.
Holy
What?
cow!
And also,
It's like
and then
straight
if
up
you win,
cash.
yeah, you just get the $100 every time. They give it to you right there after the game. And then, so then it's like a bracket though. So if you win, so let's say the first round matchup, Hassan Whiteside versus Patrick Beverly. Let's say Patrick Beverly wins 10-8. He gets $1,000 and he moves on. And then Hassan Whiteside has to shoot threes for the next round. They keep playing until someone wins. And then the winner, I don't know what the winner gets, but probably money.
Money.
Yeah, that's my idea.
That sounds kind of interesting. Like definitely.
I think there's no way to
boxed out between Beverly and a big be hilarious.
Hassan Whiteside versus Beverly.
Yeah, no, I want to see Hassan Whiteside get cooked.
I think that like it's like there's a lot of luck in terms of like which side you're standing on and which side like someone misses the shot on. I mean that's the only factor. But other than that,
and also if you get a tip slam, then you get 2 points.
Oh
Ooh.
shit! Wait, okay, that's kind of nice. That's a nice rule.
Wait, there's no way someone can get a tip slam if
Wait.
the other guy's boxing.
Does it
No,
need to be
that's why guards are gonna get destroyed.
Wait, do
You're
you
just gonna dunk over them.
Do you need it to be a tip slam or can you just tip it in?
I feel like it should I think a tip in maybe is worth 2 points, and then a tip slam's worth 3 points.
Yeah, tip slam is
Ooh, yeah,
definitely the
okay.
big money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
if
not
we
a
could
bad idea.
somehow get players to join this contest, then it would be amazing. But I think that's the hardest barrier to entry is that no one would ever want to compete in this contest.
Actually, like the further away from basketball it is, the more I think I'd want to watch.
Yeah. The more of like a dumbass
Wait, no,
volleyball game
but
it
that's
is.
why I'm saying I think there's 2 ways to go with it. You can
Yeah.
try to make it really goofy and silly, or you can try to make it serious, like with a one-on-one tournament, which I think would
one-on-one
also be
tournament
interesting.
one-on-one tournament's definitely something I want to see because I think Ming, like your argument was that like you want things to require like have less at stake, like less pride. But
Yeah.
I think the more pride is at stake, like the more players will try hard. And I want to see players try hard. So I think in a
Yeah.
one-on-one setting, like it's truly like you determine like how good you look at that event,
Yeah.
and like most players care about how they're perceived in terms of like if I lose to someone one-on-one, then someone will think like this guy's better than me, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like I think they'll actually try in a one-on-one tournament, and I think you could like balance it out by having like a big man one-on-one tournament versus like
the guard.
a guard one-on-one tournament or like a wing
Yeah.
one-on-one tournament. And I just think like that would be fun. Like you wouldn't even need like a monetary incentive. That's just like innately like players have that competitive incentive. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think the
and it'd
problem
be-
with that is the players who will sign up for that are like not the players you want to see. It's just the big ego
No,
players that want to make a name for themselves.
well,
Like
that's
it'll
what
be
I'm
like
saying
Lance
is that
Stevenson versus like Marcus Morris.
it would still
Wait,
be
I
it
wanna
would
watch
still
that.
be interesting to watch. Yeah, that's the thing is even like bad NBA players are really skilled.
Yeah.
Even players who aren't like we won't be able to see like LeBron James versus Giannis in this tournament. They're not going to
Yeah,
participate.
they're not
Yeah.
gonna sign up.
Yeah.
So
But
then,
there's
like-
still going to be like all these young players. There's going to be young up and comers. There's going to be cocky veterans. There's still going to be storylines here and interesting matchups, regardless of competing in the contest, because it's all NBA players. They're all really good at basketball.
I think it's nice because you can see a set of players that you haven't seen before. Because like some players are like stuck in a role, right? Even if they have like good skills,
Mhm.
this is like the time like to showcase like, hey, like I got some moves in my bag. Like
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to see that.
Like that random video of like Fred Van Vliet playing one-on-one against people.
Yeah, he was
remember I
hella
watched
good.
I remember I watched that like it was like before he was really good in the
Yeah.
NBA, but he
Yeah.
was just like cooking people. And it's like I didn't know he had all these moves.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You wouldn't think of him as that kind of player, but like pretty much every NBA player is almost is like very skilled, more skilled than you.
Yeah.
They just don't get to show it in the games.
For
I
sure.
think
for sure.
do you think this is the type of contest you'd want to limit to 3 dribbles or like
Yeah, I think there should be a dribble limit. That would make
Yeah.
it more interesting.
yeah.
I still feel like the problem is the players who sign up are all like unlikable, unstorylineable players that no one wants to like root
Damn.
for.
Wait, it's some
That's pretty
disrespect,
harsh.
but
What are
yeah.
you talking
Just
about?
anyone who like
Who's an example of someone you think would sign up?
yeah like Lance Stevenson.
You know, but there's
He's
also
there to like kill someone.
there's also going to be like young players who are trying to prove themselves, right? You have people to root for then.
It wouldn't be like anyone rookie of the year contending because then they have pride on the line. So it'll be a rookie
Yeah,
that
no, exactly.
literally has like nothing to lose and it's just trying to kill someone.
Yeah, what are you talking
but that-
about? What?
So I think it's
I
like
still think that's more interesting than fucking Taco Bell skills.
yeah.
I don't want.
It's just not.
It's like
It's kind of like not the right mood because like it's gonna be not like flashy entertainment. It's gonna be like raw substance that's like mud and grind, and like that's like completely different from like the rest of the
I
weekend.
don't think it has to be like super
But
flashy.
that's still
Like,
interesting, though.
if they go hard, even if
Yeah.
it's like not beautiful, like I think I'd still enjoy it because
It's
I'm
not
seeing people compete.
it's not going to be like street ball. Like they're not going to be beating each other up. They're just going to be playing one on one.
If I get Kyrie in that tournament, like
There's
oh
no
my-
way you get
Like,
Kyrie.
I feel
to
like
join
that's the type of tournament Kyrie would want.
Oh
to
yeah,
play.
no. I think Kyrie and KD would both enter to try to beat each
yeah.
other.
Yeah,
Okay,
There's
actually,
a
maybe-
chance that
yeah.
I think this tournament would have more star
Potential.
players in it than like the slam dunk contest. For some reason, stars hate competing in slam dunk. I
It's the
feel
same reason, right? It's like they don't want to participate in the stupid like
Yeah, exactly.
I
This isn't
think
stupid.
that-
This is to show that you're the best
Yeah.
one-on-one player in the
It's like
NBA
dunks
league.
are kind of like dunks.
Who
don't
cares if you're the best
actually-
dunker?
Yeah, they don't tell you that you're a good
Uh-huh.
player. Like
Yeah, yeah.
one-on-one, like it doesn't tell you if you fit in a system well, but like that's a true skills.
Like imagine
Competition.
the beef. Imagine the beef going on. Imagine like Andre Iguodala and John Morant both compete in
There's gonna be
one-on-one.
hella beef. There's gonna be hella beef.
Imagine if
Iguodala
it's
would
like
actually
two
be the
players who
worst
just
one-on-one
two
player.
players who just hate each other and then they get matched up. Oh, that's exciting. That's real exciting.
And then you
That's
have
true.
you have a fan vote to see someone who has to join the contest.
Oh, that sounds.
Force against their will.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I think that'd be hilarious.
A
So,
raffle fan.
Forced
I-
against
I-
your will.
I can like vote in Bryn Forbes into this contest.
I don't know if anyone wants to see that though.
True.
I'd be down to witness that. See him try to guard the bigs.
Yeah, I think a one-on-one contest, if it ever was instated, would be very entertaining.
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be fun.
All right, that's it for All-Star Weekend. Let's move on to viewer mailbag questions. So I'll start with question from E Liu, and he asks us, "Why is Jaylen Brown not an All-Star?" Why do you guys think Jaylen Brown is not an All-Star? I think it's pretty obvious, but
They're just better all stars.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
I mean, that's
Well
really it. And
Well
I
said.
think like we kind of touched on this earlier, but Jalen and Jason, like Tatum, are pretty interchangeable. But
yeah. All right, well, thank you, E Liu, for that question.
Wait, is that all we're gonna
Wait.
say?
I mean, I don't think there's anything.
else to say.
Yeah, I don't think there's
it's-
anything.
It's
Oh,
a
wait,
little
that
bit
is
more
the right
complicated.
answer. That
It's
is
a
the
little
right
bit more
answer.
complicated.
Do you think? Okay, well, the only argument he has is if he's playing better than Jason Tatum.
I think
Yeah.
that's his best argument, but he's probably not.
But I don't
and that's
think he
why
is.
Yeah.
No, he's
But
100% not.
The problem is because they're on the same team, they're always going to be compared against each other for like All Star, and people
But
don't want to put
even
a
then,
bunch
though-
of players on the same team. So like,
Well, even then, though, like I don't know if you can argue for him over like Kyle Lowry, even strictly based on stats.
yeah, I agree. But I think like in terms of like for the future, like every year this is going to be the same problem. That if
Well,
Tatum's
but
better,
the
he'll just live
thing
in
is-
his shadows.
But the thing is, like, if the Celtics are good enough, if they were the first seed in the East, then people would say, oh, they deserve 3 All Stars.
I guess
So,
like
yeah.
so
they'll
part of the
have to be
reason
like
is
the Warriors, kind of.
Or like the Hawks that had 4 All Stars in that one year.
yeah. But it's like they have to
Josh
be
Smith
winning.
and shit.
Yeah.
There has
Josh
to
Smith.
be. There's so many more like star players in the NBA now, just spread out across different teams. And if like
Yeah.
if your team has 3 All-Star level players, but you're not winning games, then there must be a reason for that. They're not contributing to wins as much as people thought they would.
So
Or-
I
or
think
people think they do based on stats.
Jason Tatum's also a flashier player, so he might be on more people's radar than Jaylen Brown is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think overall though he has played better. And he's also had more responsibility in the offense.
I think Tatum recently has been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
on
that
a
game was
he's on a
7
hot
threes.
streak.
He's definitely like a crazy streak.
Yeah, I think he's on like a 7 or 8 game streak of 20 plus points. Which is interesting to think that before this season, I think his longest streak of 20 plus point games was like 4 or 5 or something. Or something really low. Which I would have thought he would have had like a longer streak. But yeah, he's been having a good season. So that
Yeah.
is why Jaylen Brown is not an all-star. Sorry, Eliu. I know you're a big Brown fan. He's been playing well, but he's not an all-star.
Thanks for the question, Eliu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Next question from M. Oxmall. He wants to know, how do we think Wiggins, or do we think Wiggins will be better on the Warriors than Harrison Barnes was? What do you guys think? Thoughts?
I think I just can't. I'm not a fan of Harrison Barnes. The man is no longer welcome into the Bay Area. All I gotta say
Wow.
is, all right, Game 5, 2016 Finals. Yeah, Game 5. Man went 2 for 14. 2 for 14.
Yeah, not a great game.
Game 6, 0 for 8. Game 7, 3 for 10. It's just, I I'm
It's a
gonna
big moment though.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be pretty hard for Wiggins to do worse than
Yeah.
that, but
You can foresee a future though where those stat lines show up from Wiggins in the finals.
I could,
That's a
yeah.
scary-
And
that's a
then
scary
then we'll have a follow up to this
Yeah, yeah.
podcast, and then Wiggins
and
will
that-
be equally unwelcome in the Bay Area
And
as
then
Harrison Barnes.
M Oxmal, we'll bring M Oxmal on the podcast to talk about it.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
for sure.
But
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Wiggins will probably be better. Like Wiggins is like in terms of skill set, he's probably the better player. Probably not as good of a shooter, but um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think Wiggins is just more versatile. He kind of like in terms of personality, I think he has like a more aggressive personality that might not be like the best for in terms of like scoring efficiently, but Harrison Barnes at times was definitely a bit passive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Wiggins will be a better fit for sure.
yeah,
I hope so, yeah.
we need some better questions.
I think.
Yeah. The audience needs to you guys
I mean, I appreciate the questions, but I mean,
So I think the thing with Harrison Barnes was that there were like flashes of something of him being like really good. So like I remember it was like it's like Denver in like I think the second round of the playoffs where they would switch like a small guard on him and then our offense would just like post up Barnes on like the post on like a small guard and he would like go to work and he's scored like 20 something points in like like second round of the playoffs, I think. I feel like that version of Harrison Barnes never had the chance to like really grow because the team's just too stacked. Hopefully like Wiggins can find like random pockets like that where he can like get like I guess a niche like big role on offense. So like
yeah.
Yeah.
if he has like a
I
good
think-
matchup where they're disrespecting him by putting a guard on like a small kid on him, he should be able to like actually go to work and kill him. Yeah.
I do feel like that Wiggins. What makes him better than Barnes is that even in all the moments besides those few pockets where Barnes can use his skill set and his size, I think Wiggins is just better in all those other moments. There'll be a lot of moments where he won't have that opportunity to post up to ISO to do all these other things, and in those moments he'll outshine Barnes.
Yeah.
But I do think Barnes he did have a unique skill set that was important for the Warriors and definitely helped them win their championship. But yeah, he definitely did not step up in that finals against the Cavaliers.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
unfortunate. Man.
Okay, so I think we'll end with a prediction as we do. And I'm just gonna arbitrarily pick one. So I'm just
Do you
gonna
want
have
to predict who, like, what teams will be in the playoffs, like the top 8 of East and West?
I'll just say we'll do a more simple one. I'll just say, who do you guys think is gonna end up being the 8th seed in the West?
In the
I already
West.
answered earlier, right? I said Portland.
I think
Well, yeah,
Portland's
well, you said we
8.
want to see Portland.
Yeah, I want to see Portland. I also am leaning towards Portland.
Okay,
Huh.
I think I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies.
8th seed?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Portland too. I think Portland can.
Okay.
It's either between the Grizzlies or the Blazers, but
All right. Hopefully we can follow up on this because our last prediction was before the season started and it was FIBA basketball.
I think there's a huge chance that the Blazers just spin out. Like, because every game they play, they have to work so hard. And
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
so painful to watch them, like watch Dame in particular, and see Dame and
But they
CJ
do-
in particular, just like try their heart out and then lose the game. Like,
But they do compete against good teams.
yeah,
But
so they
also-
play.
They also lose against bad teams quite often.
Yeah, so I think there's just like they have such strengths and like really obvious weaknesses.
But yeah, all of their wins lately, like with Dame popping off, have been a struggle. They haven't
Yeah.
been. There've been like very few blowout games. Although obviously they should have won the Jazz game, or they could have won the Jazz game if it weren't for the refs.
I think I feel like the Pelicans could make a run if everyone stays healthy.
Yeah.
And I think they will definitely try to do that. Like they have no reason to not, like I guess try to.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of teams in the picture here. Like the Kings are surging. They're starting Bogdanovich and bringing Hield off the bench, and they've won a lot since making that change.
I think the Kings could. They're my sleeper. I think.
Yeah, they're definitely a sleeper.
Yeah.
Suns even. I don't think they're gonna make it, but they have a lot of talent on their roster.
Yeah, I definitely don't think the Spurs are making. For I'm gonna just put that out. I'm gonna just put that out for the record.
I also do not think the Spurs.
I was
Four-game
waiting
losing
for
streak.
someone to bring that up.
I'm with you. I don't think the Spurs will make it.
They have a 4-game losing streak, but they're still just a 10th seed.
They're 8-18 on the road.
Oh,
Jesus. Yeah, it's not been a fun season.
Yikes
for me, but I think we got to trade DeRozan.
On the it's crazy.
That's a good road record.
Hey, even the T-Wolves are 9-16 on the road.
But they're 7-19 at home. Oh,
That's depressing.
They finally won though.
They did.
I think we'll see the Blazers and the Suns in the playoffs.
Blazers and the Suns?
Who do you think is going to fall out of the playoffs? The Thunder?
I think either Thunder, Mavs, or Grizzlies. 2 out of the 3 will not be in the playoffs.
Then who do you think is going to be in the playoffs? Which one do you think is going to stick it out? I think the Thunder are looking like the best team out of those 3, honestly.
Honestly, I think all of those teams are very shaky, and there's like a high chance that 2 out of the 3 will not make it.
Really, they're so far ahead.
Yeah, so if you look at the difference, like the Thunder are 11 games ahead of the Suns.
Yeah, that means that the Thunder would have to lose 11 in a row, and the Suns would have to win 11 in a row for them to be tied.
Like I don't know about that.
Well, I think at least the Thunder, Mavs, and Grizzlies definitely are not as good as they seem right now.
I think there's one spot up for grabs personally, and I think it's the 8th spot.
I definitely think there's 2, and it's hard to say like who will get in. I think. Okay, I think
the Suns are a bad bet. I think the Suns are a bad bet.
They have so much talent.
I'll bet you a lot of money that the Suns won't make it.
You think? Okay.
Yeah. I think the Pelicans are a better bet, honestly.
The Pelicans are actually a pretty hopeful contender to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, actually, I do think the Grizzlies will stick it out, but I think my second pick would be the Pelicans.
Pelicans over the Blazers?
Yeah.
All right.
I think I like both those teams over the Blazers, but I think there's a pretty high chance the Blazers will end up with a better record than the Pelicans. But I do think the Grizzlies will end up 8th anyway. So
I think we'll see Suns and Blazers. In the
All right. Well, so what's the summary? Me and Andrew say Blazers. Kevin, you say Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And then Ming, you say Suns and Blazers.
Okay, wait. So then, if you had to pick one between
the
Thunder, if you had to pick one between the Thunder and the Mavs who aren't going to make it, which one would you pick?
I'll say the Thunder.
Thunder. Okay. You still want to do our bet?
What is the bet?
What is our bet?
No, I bet Ming a while ago. I don't. It was like $1 or $5 or something. That the Thunder would make the playoffs, and he said he bet against me.
Oh wow!
Against the Thunder?
Wait,
this is a while ago.
You have to do the bet.
You said you told me to save it for the podcast, so I've been saving it.
Ooh, I think the Thunder.
This was a long time ago. This was when the Thunder were like the 8th seed or the 7th seed. So
I don't want to disrespect the Thunder because they have.
Well, you were disrespecting them a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it's definitely disrespect. I thought CP3 would actually just sit this year out, but apparently he's.
It was even after he's been playing well. Like they were. I don't know what you were on. You just don't like the Thunder, but
I still do not like the Thunder.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So you're not gonna bet me.
I'll not bet you because I
Okay.
don't
Yeah,
think
that's just losing money
I
if you
can
make
Okay,
this
you
bet.
actually scammed me because you told me to save it. You told me to save it for the podcast, and then you just refused my bet. So let it be known, Ming is not a man of his word.
I will not bet you.
Yeah, Ming trying to
Okay.
save that money.
Okay, well I'm gonna win fantasy anyway, so
Yeah, rip.
give me that money. Okay, I guess that's it for today.
Thanks for the questions.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. Keep sending them in.
Yeah, keep sending them in.
Our mailbag is getting kind of full, but we can still take some more questions. We can still get some more. But yeah, anyway, thanks for listening.